In our headlines on this Thursday, August 7th, here in South Korea. As part of his latest tariff plan, Donald Trump speaks of slapping a 100% tariff on foreign-made semiconductor imports. Intentions to this end are igniting concerns among Korean chipmakers. Meanwhile, South Korea sees a record current account surplus of over $14 billion in June, its highest monthly gain since January 1980, driven by exports of semiconductors. And the leaders of the US and Russia may meet in person as early as next week to address the Kremlin's aggression against Ukraine. The U.S. plans to impose a 100% import duty on semiconductor shipments into the American market. The top office here is playing down the potential impact of the pledged tariff. Our Heung-min reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump continues to ratchet up his tariff pressure, this time threatening to impose a 100% tariff on semiconductors coming into the United States.
We're going to be putting a very large tariff on chips and semiconductors. But the good news for companies like Apple is if you're building in the United States or have committed to build, without question committed to build in the United States, there will be no charge.
He was speaking at a White House event on Wednesday, where Apple promised to invest an additional $100 billion in the U.S., on top of the previously announced $500 billion. No specifics were given, though Trump did earlier signal that the levies on chips could come as soon as next week. With semiconductors being South Korea's second largest item exported to the U.S., Seoul's top office echoed remarks by Trade Minister Heung-min that the country will not be treated less favorably than other nations.
Whether the levies be 100% or 200%, we have been promised the most favored nation status with regard to semiconductors and pharmaceuticals.
Last week, a framework trade deal was reached between Seoul and Washington that lowered U.S. so-called reciprocal tariffs on South Korea to 15% in exchange for massive investment pledges by Seoul, as well as a promise for the most favored nation status on certain sector-specific tariffs. What lies ahead is how to fill in the details of the deal in time for the face-to-face meeting later this month at the top level involving President Lee Jae-myung and his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump. Yoon-min, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, as of 1 p.m. on this Thursday here in South Korea, the Trump administration's country-specific tariffs went into effect. Now, at present, these tariffs affect over 90 nations and range from 10% to 40%. South Korea, Japan, and the EU, for their parts, face 15% tariffs on their goods exported to the American market. Tariffs are expected to expand in the near future as the U.S. leader speaks of more sector-specific tariffs, including those for semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. South Korea and the U.S. will hold their annual Ulchi Freedom Shield exercise this month. In a joint press conference earlier on this Thursday, the two sides announced the joint military exercise will begin on August 18th and end on the 28th. While this year's exercise will be similar in scale to that of last year, 20 out of the 40 field drills will be pushed back to September amid the intense heat. Officials also said the drills will include missile threat scenarios and aim to reinforce the deterrence against North Korea. The annual exercise involves some 18,000 South Korean troops and roughly the same number of American soldiers. In other news, South Korea saw a record current account surplus of over $14 billion in June, its highest monthly gain since relevant data collection began. Our economic correspondent Kim Do-yeon covers these findings and more.
South Korea posted a current account surplus of $14.27 billion in June, the country's largest monthly surplus on record. According to the Bank of Korea on Thursday, the figure was fueled by strong semiconductor exports and a surge in dividend income. June also marked a surplus for the 26th consecutive month. Compared to May, the goods account surplus alone rose by $2.5 billion, helping push the first half total to $49.37 billion, the third highest first half figure in history.
This is the result of a sharp increase in the primary income account, driven mainly by dividend income, on top of a wider goods surplus due to a drop in commodity imports following lower oil prices.
In June, exports of semiconductors rose over 11%, while pharmaceutical shipments soared more than 50%. Much of the chip sales appear to have been front-loaded ahead of the U.S. tariffs taking effect. However, steel and automobile exports slipped, reflecting early pressure from the new tariff regime. Regionally, exports to the U.S. and China declined, while shipments to the EU and Southeast Asia posted solid gains. Despite concerns for other items due to tariffs, the Bank of Korea maintained a positive outlook for the current account in the near term.
As for semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, South Korea secured the most favorable terms under the agreement. So we're not likely to face disadvantages compared to other countries, nor see a significant drop in the competitiveness of our chip industry.
The news also came as the Deputy Prime Minister for Economy and Finance, Koo Yoon-chol, visited the Governor of the Bank of Korea, Lee Chang-yong, for the first time. Greeting the Deputy Prime Minister, the general touted the government's tariff deal with the U.S., saying it eased the burden for the central bank as well.
To be honest, from both my personal view and the Bank of Korea's perspective, the recent tariff agreement was handled well, and it has significantly eased the pressure going into our monetary policy meeting at the end of August.
The Deputy Prime Minister also said the decline in potential growth rate is due to a loss in the country's economic capability, adding, all economic players must work together to strengthen that capability. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
And Minister Koo Yoon-chol says domestic demand is picking up pace amid related efforts, including the government's recent provision of consumption coupons. Our correspondent Park Geon-woo reports.
Steady signs of recovery in domestic consumption are becoming a reality in South Korea. That's according to the first economic ministerial meeting under the new Lee Jae-myung administration on Thursday.
After a long slump, consumption is starting to recover. Domestic demand is revitalizing thanks to efforts such as the Livelihood Recovery Consumption Coupons. Retail sales have turned upward for the first time in 4 months, and consumer sentiment is at its highest in over 4 years.
Koo also pledged to hold a series of large-scale consumption-boosting events each month until the end of the year, aiming to sustain the momentum. And to help non-capital regions struggling with challenges such as shrinking populations, the government plans to match them with entities, including central ministries, under a sisterhood program to promote tourism and local specialties. On Thursday, the state-run Korea Development Institute also echoed the positive signs in consumption in its August Economic Trends Report. It showed that consumption is partially improving, backed by declining interest rates, despite ongoing sluggishness in production, particularly in the construction sector. KDI also projected a more positive outlook thanks to consumption coupons distributed last month. However, the think tank also raised concerns of trade uncertainties linked to U.S. tariffs. While July's exports increased year-on-year, the state-run think tank attributed the rise to front-loaded shipments from markets including Taiwan and ASEAN ahead of new U.S. tariffs. Also on Thursday, Finance Minister Koo said the government will focus on a strategic transition toward a hyper-innovation economy, driven by rapidly evolving technologies. He said key sectors including AI will receive concentrated support to produce visible results in a short time. More specific strategies are set to be unveiled later this month. Park Geon-woo, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung is poised to host his first foreign counterpart next Monday. According to Presidential Office spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung, To Lam, the General Secretary of Vietnam's ruling Communist Party, will arrive in South Korea for a 4-day visit that will address a wide array of bilateral interests, including nuclear energy, high-speed railways, and smart cities. Kang added the planned summit will offer South Korea the opportunity to bolster its comprehensive strategic partnership with Vietnam in a future-oriented manner. The leaders of the US and Russia may meet in person as early as next week to address the Kremlin's aggression against Ukraine. Our An Sung-jin has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump could hold in-person talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin as soon as next week. Trump told European leaders during a call on Wednesday that he intends to meet with Putin and then follow up with a three-way talk also involving Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
But we had some very good talks with President Putin today, and there's a very good chance that we could be ending the end of that road. That road was long and continues to be long, but there's a good chance that there will be a meeting very soon.
This follows Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff's trip to Moscow for talks with Putin. Though no readouts of the 3-hour-long meeting have been released, the White House said that the meeting had gone well, and Trump added that it was highly productive, resulting in major progress. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio added that Putin outlined concrete examples of the kinds of things that Russia would ask for, further stating that it may be the first time doing so since the administration began. The Kremlin later said that Putin had sent a signal to the U.S. regarding Ukraine, to which the U.S. allegedly responded. Through a post on Truth Social, Trump also confirmed that he spoke with Zelensky as well, adding that everyone agrees this war must end. Zelensky later addressed the call through a social media message saying that they talked about what was discussed in Moscow and acknowledged that Russia does seem more inclined to agree to a ceasefire. He also thanked his European allies for their support. This comes just days before a deadline set by Trump for Russia to agree to peace in Ukraine or face tougher sanction measures, including secondary sanctions on countries that do business with Russia. When and where the meeting would take place is unclear, but if this meeting does take place, it will be the first face-to-face meeting between a sitting U.S. and Russian president since 2021, when former President Biden met with Putin in Geneva. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, the special counsel investigating allegations against former First Lady Kim Gun-hee has requested an arrest warrant with detention against her. The counsel has cited the risk of evidence tampering as reason for the request. Also, the request comes one day after an hours-long questioning session of Kim back on Wednesday. Separately, a second attempt by the counsel to bring in former President Yoon Suk-yeol for questioning was halted earlier today amid his firm refusal. In sports news, football sensation Heung-min has a new home, that is the Los Angeles Football Club. Our Choi Soo-young has more.
At Heung-min's official Los Angeles FC signing press conference, LAFC supporters welcomed him with loud and powerful cheers. After 10 years with Tottenham Hotspur, Son officially joined LAFC on Wednesday local time. His new club described the South Korean national team captain as one of the most talented and popular Asian players in football history, while Tottenham bid farewell with a front-page message on its website. Heung-min says he came to Los Angeles with one goal: to win.
Obviously, I'm here to perform, but also that I want to give some advice to the young players that for improvement. So yeah, I can't just wait to see all the teammates and all the players that are working together. So that's why we are here. So let's do it together, wins the trophy here.
It was also revealed that Sonny will wear the number 7 at his new club. Now set to play as LAFC starting forward, Son said the presence of the world's largest Koreatown in Los Angeles was one reason he chose the team. LAFC said Heung-min was signed as a designated player, exempt for the MLS salary cap through 2027, with an option to extend until June 2029. The club added that he will take up an international roster slot and will be eligible to play once he secures a U.S. work visa and an international transfer certificate. According to ESPN, LAFC is paying a transfer fee of around $26 million, setting a new Major League Soccer record and surpassing the previous record of $22 million set by Atlanta United when they signed Emmanuel Latte-Lath earlier this year. Son also becomes one of the highest-paid players in the MLS. Son is embracing his new start in the U.S. as another challenge, saying he wants to give back for everything he has received from the team and hopes to leave as a club legend. Choi Soo-young, Arirang News.
A Billboard survey shows 4 out of every 10 US-based K-pop fans spend over $100 annually on physical copies of K-pop albums. The survey was conducted over a fortnight last August and included 1,400 Billboard readers aged 14 and above. 63% of those polled had purchased at least one K-pop CD over the previous year, and nearly half said they bought multiple copies of the same album, given the diverse packaging and design. But despite the active spending on physical albums, only 47% had attended a K-pop concert in the past year, owing to high ticket costs and long distance. Come Friday, the government will begin offering discount coupons for concerts and exhibitions. Now, Seoul's Culture Ministry, together with the Korea Arts Management Service and Arts Council Korea, will provide 500,000 coupons that allow for a 10,000 won reduction in concert tickets and 1.6 million coupons for a 3,000 won discount for tickets to exhibitions. The coupons can be used until September 19th and apply to events held up until November 30th. Unmanned stores are gaining traction here in the country for their convenience and their price tags. Our correspondent Park Chun-han files this report.
In South Korea, you can buy fresh fruit anytime, whether it's 4 a.m. or late at night. This store is a 24/7 fruit shop. What's even more interesting is that there's no one at the counter. You just simply pick up the fruit, bring it to the counter, then scan the barcode. After it's scanned, you can pay for it through a machine, and you're good to go. These two ice creams are exactly the same. Same size, same brand, same ingredients. I paid 1,500 won at a convenience store, but just 600 won at an unmanned store. That's less than half the price. Since a few years ago, South Korea's unmanned store businesses have grown rapidly. Although estimates vary by institution, it is generally assumed that there are over 10,000 unmanned stores in South Korea. From January 2020 through 2025, the number of unmanned stores grew 314%. The number of stores increased more than fourfold from 2020 to 2023 and has remained steady for the last 2 years. For customers, the main reasons they visit unmanned stores are their accessibility and reasonable prices. While increasing accessibility through operating 24 hours a day, the strategy of reducing fixed costs by building an automated system that does not require additional labor costs was the key know-how in selling products to consumers at lower prices.
It's cheaper than convenience stores, and I like that I can pay on my own without waiting.
Since it's open 24 hours, I can stop by any time after studying near my academy, which I find really convenient.
Another customer said he doesn't feel pressured when buying at an unmanned store, since no one is watching him while he decides which product to choose.
With no staff around, you can shop freely without feeling watched. The prices are reasonable, so you get more for the same money.
Started as an emerging trend, unmanned stores have now expanded across the country and become a new mode of consumption. From ice cream to fruit and even pet supplies, the industry continues to diversify, meeting the evolving needs of consumers. Park Chun-han, Arirang News.
One county office here in South Korea is using AI to take on the role of eyes for the visually impaired to help them better address their affairs at the civil service desk. Our Cha Yun-kyung explains.
A visually impaired person enters a public service center to handle civil affairs. As they take a picture of a document through the AI visual auxiliary apparatus, the device summarizes the information and guides them by voice. This equipment, installed in the Public Service Center of Bonggung County Office, can summarize documents, guide people to a location, recognize the color of an object, and measure distances from others. Braille panels are also attached to the apparatus, so the visually impaired can select the service that they need and deal with public affairs by themselves.
I can handle public affairs through voice language coming out from the apparatus without anyone's help.
We collaborated with the Welfare Policy Division to improve the public affairs service for visually handicapped people.
Boongun County plans to make up for the weaknesses of the apparatus with the cooperation of an association of the visually impaired people using it. 차윤경, 아리랑 뉴스.
This is The World Now, bringing you the stories from around the globe. Starting off in Ghana, where the country's defense and environment ministers were among the 8 people killed in a helicopter crash. Defense Minister Edward Omane Bouama and Environment, Science and Technology Minister Ibrahim Mutala Muhammad died in the crash in the Ashanti region on Wednesday. 3 other officials and 3 crew members also died in the crash. The helicopter had departed from the capital of Accra just after 9 a.m. local time and was heading to the town of Ubuasi from an event addressing illegal mining. Later, Ghana's armed forces reported losing radar contact with the helicopter. The cause of the crash is still unknown. In the US, where a suspect is in custody after 5 soldiers were shot and injured at Fort Stewart Army Base in Georgia on Wednesday local time. According to reports, the alleged shooter, identified as 28-year-old US Army Sergeant Cornelius Radford, used a personal handgun in the shooting before being subdued by other soldiers. Officials said they were unclear about the motive and that the suspect opened fire at an area of the base where he is assigned. Fort Stewart, one of the largest army bases in the US, was briefly locked down after the incident. All 5 victims are said to be in stable condition and expected to recover. The 2025 World Robot Conference is set to open on Friday in Beijing as the industry continues rapid growth across China. The 10th edition of the event will showcase the latest breakthroughs in robotics, from realistic humanoid robots to automatons that look like animals. Over 200 companies from both China and abroad are set to participate, presenting advancements in automation, artificial intelligence, and smart robotics. The conference will run until August 12th. To the Czech Republic, where 4 rare Barbary lions made their first public appearance at the Dva Králové Safari Park, closely watched by their parents Kalila and Bart. The 3 female and 1 male cubs were born in January, marking an important addition to the small remaining population of the rare species, which is extinct in the wild. The last known photograph of a wild Barbary lion was taken in 1925 and is believed to have disappeared completely by the mid-1960s. Today, fewer than 200 Barbary lions are thought to remain in captivity. Walter Lee, Arirang News.
Today's Ipchu on the traditional calendar, which means the beginning of autumn. The extreme heat is starting to go away, but it's still hot when you're out of the shade. With a heat wave advisory in the southern parts of the country, daytime temperatures rose to 32 degrees in Seoul, Chuncheon, and Cheongju today. There will be no heat wave above 35 degrees Celsius like last week, but for the time being, the daytime temperature will continue to exceed 30 degrees Celsius in most regions. The night heat will gradually cool down as well. Seoul will see lows of 23 degrees tomorrow, and many areas will see below 25 degrees in the morning. Chuncheon and Gyeongju will start off at 21 degrees, Busan at 25 degrees. Highs will move up to 31 degrees in Seoul, Chuncheon, Daejeon, and Busan, Jeju 30 degrees. Tomorrow there will be showers on the East Coast. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.